last night. But tomorrow we're back to work. Hopefully the rain will stop. I have to play an equestrian, someone who likes horses, rides horses, and also someone having Mother's Day brunch. So we thought we would get into this exciting Morphe. It says hashtag Morphe babe. Morphe Ready Set Gold palette. So cute. Neutrals. It evokes the Tati palette. It evokes some of the calmer Anastasia of Beverly Hills palettes, but it has shade names like Book Me, Fame, Discover, Animated, Photo Booth, right? We know from the Oscars red carpet how important it is to be able to look right and pose on the red carpet because those pictures are sold, right? It's not news per se, it's entertainment. Another shade name, Close Up. Are you ready for yours? Star. Are you a star? Are you becoming a star? Would you like to? Show Me. That's the shade name. No Filter. Silly. Almond Kiss. Classic. Weekend. Ready. MUA. Makeup artist. The One. Epic. Talent. Agency. Disguise. Stunning. Most. True Gold. Beauty. Rich. Spirit. Paparazzi. Fabulous. Golden. Spotlight. Photogenic. Relentless. Sleek. Meant. And action. Everything on the set moves when the director calls action. And nothing is supposed to move until then. So let's get into it. All right, we could use a concealer on our lids, but we do have this NYX eyeshadow base. We also got some really exciting new brushes from Eco Tools, right? It has a very clever carrying case that's a little bit hard to close. So let's see what we can do to get at some of these, because some of them are extraordinarily thoughtful in their design. I'm not sure which one this is, but it is a flat applicator on one end, right? And an eye soother on the other, right? So when you take a product like this Green Goddess Milani Cannabis Sativa Seed Oil, right? Hydrating eye cream, right? You can get it onto this instrument, right? And it's almost suggesting that the flat applicator is where you apply it, and then you can kind of mush it in with the silicone end. I feel like the opposite is the case, right? This isn't going to be a cream, this is something clear. So I think we can put it on this silicone dot, right? You know how I love a silicone applicator sponge for doing things, because it feels like your finger, but then you're not like getting all your fingers dirty. And from here we can hopefully find our little mirror. Where have you gone? Oh, okay, it's under the boxes for these items. Put that in the circular file. But yeah, you know, just getting it into the eye area, right? And it's got this, oh, we got another palette from Makeup Revolution. What is it called? The Fierce Wild Animal palette. I don't know if we're gonna rock with this one because it's very fierce, and that doesn't seem very brunchy to me. It doesn't seem very Mother's Day, unless, you know, your mother is like married to Hulk Hogan or something like that, or Ice-T, the rapper. But yeah, you know, you always want a hydrated eye area. And this feels very nice. It doesn't have any scent at all, but your face living in the desert, it feels released from the tightness and dryness that can attack you in the desert. And this is very nice in terms of it's not pliant. It is kind of like something that you can use to dot something on, right? But what I like about these silicone instruments is that you don't waste product. I don't know about you, but makeup is expensive and I don't like to waste it. I do like to practice with it so that, you know, when it's time, you can, you know, kind of rely on what it is that you need it to do, right? This white NYX eyeshadow base, right? I have another one that's like, kind of like, I guess a nude color. And it just seems like maybe the colors don't come out as true if you're, you know, got a tan skin and then you're putting something tan on top of it. But I try not to go too crazy with this product because it will give you white lid. And white lid is kind of a, it's more of a cosplay place. You know, you want to kind of look like you're going to look normal. Like you're going to brunch and you've got that human color look. You don't want to be in a fantasy place, you know. Although we have been getting our hands on these NYX Epic Wear waterproof eye and body liquid liners, and it comes in really cute colors. Rich Luxe turned me on to the white one. There's blue, there's red, I think there's yellow, I think there's green and purple as well. But we're, you know, just trying to conservatively put this in our eye area to create a base, and then we'll start rocking with our eyeshadow and see what we can do to be in that, you know, Tati, you know, privileged Christian woman who loves makeup place, right? Someone who looks like they know what they're doing, but, you know, isn't inappropriate for the place that you're going. That's always the thing with makeup, right? Like, what are you? Are you a lawyer? Are you a stripper? That's different makeup, right? So what we want to do to be camera ready is empower ourselves with, you know, kind of the knowledge and the, oh, you know, we also got a whole bunch of artist brushes, and I thought these would be interesting, right? They are King Art value brush set. You know how expensive brushes can be. $8.99 at Ross Dress for Less. And look at all these brushes. Flat brushes, pointy brushes. You know, really, this can get a lot of product on, but some of them are so tiny and precise that, you know, I thought this would be quite something once I start experimenting with those like kind of graphic liners and that sort of thing. Circular file. I also, what did we put back here? I think this is our clean brush area. Oh, we also got these Black Radiance different Color Perfect foundation sticks in a bunch of different darker colors. Maybe we'll experiment with that or one of them for contour. We washed our brushes and we let them dry, right? So we can put them back into the plastic cup we recycled for brushes. And then we got a hairbrush, knot-free detangler, right? You always want to have something on hand to make your hair look right, especially when you're going to work. We got some cotton. They're like Q-tips, basically, for makeup application. Never really opened it before. But yeah, it's got, you know, sort of pointy on one end Q-tip and round on the other end Q-tip. I'm not really, you know, wanting to like waste things, but sometimes if something goes wrong, we can get into something like that. We washed our other silicone sponge that has glitter in it, right? It's got that fabulous glitter look, but it, you know, everything needs to be kept clean. And this is our makeup, I can't read it because it's in Japanese. It's basically the thing you rub your brushes on if you want to clean them without sudsing them up, right? And I washed it very vigorously, but it still looks kind of dusty, but I think it does actually work. So this was $1.50 from Daiso. It's a dry cleaner, makeup brush dry cleaner. I highly recommend as cheaply as you can get it, because there are ones that are available that are more expensive. Now, this item, Revlon Oil Control on the Go. It's some sort of volcanic rock that you can rub on your face, and it's supposed to make you less oily, right? You don't want to keep piling product on, although on set, people do powder you, right? But if you do that all day, you're going to end up being a cake face. Those of us who are members of indigenous cake faces, that's kind of like a cute joke. You don't actually want to look cakey in a skin texture way. We have this Revlon Photo Ready Blurring Powder. It doesn't come in a lot of colors. I've never used it before. This is the light medium. You know, as I spend more time in the sun, the struggle for figuring out what color of makeup is best continues, right? You kind of end up in a disappointment place, right? This eyeshadow primer is too pale, but you know, you kind of have to then go in with other products that are darker to compensate and restore what? Human color, right? So I don't want to peel this off because it has a shade name on it, but you know, it promises blurring, right? We have been trying to empty out this Kiehl's blurring micro blur skin perfector. This time, instead of using a sponge to apply it, I used my fingers, and I think I got a more sheer application because it had been sort of pilling up on my skin, and that wasn't cool. But right, here we are. We're in the eyeshadow place. I really am loving these brushes from BH Cosmetics that have this really exciting kind of red metallic color. And you do get all the variety of brush shapes that someone like a James Charles or a Jeffree Star bring you, but without the troubling behavior. Although I do think that BH Cosmetics is in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean the end of the company, or does that just mean a reset financially? So, you know, if these are our brushes to lay it down, right? If the fluffiest is to blend out edges, and then something like this could lay down your transition color, right? Transition color, not crease, but something to kind of create to set your eyeshadow base with a color that will, you know, marry well with your other shadows, right? If this is a paddle brush for that shimmer, and then this little tiny pointy one can get your outer V color down, and then something like this could also do that, but it's a little bit bigger, you know, but we're just trying to learn about our library of brushes. We also have some other brushes that are more expensive that we also could, you know, start getting into as well. But I'm very excited about this palette, and I really wanted to, you know, join you and do some makeup for a few days, but I've had some, you know, things to do. Somehow I've messed up one of the shadows in this palette. Just trying to clean it. I guess it's inevitable that any palette gets a little dingy. Is that the right word? But in any case, let's take the right size brush, right? Holding it at its end for gentleness. And let's, this palette does not come with a mirror in it. So this very nice magnifying mirror that came with our wall mirror, hopefully this doesn't slide off. Let's get into it, right? Using a very pale color as our transition, right? This very palest one. And let's just see if it just looks completely nuts, because we put on a very pale eyeshadow base, right? People always say, get it on your brush and then tap it off. I'm not sure if that does anything. But yeah, you can see the eyeshadow base has creased already. So just, you know, sort of patting and stroking this color across the middle of the lid. Let's not call it the crease. Let's call it the middle of the lid, right? And down toward the lash line, right? And once more, right? Starting with a clean face, putting on our, you know, moisturizer, eye cream, all of that, and really just trying to see what this palette do, as it were, right? Is that light too bright? I think that's too little light. You know, and thinking about building that color out toward the temple. You know, it seems to be a very buttery yellow, which is what it promised to be in the palette. If we take this light down a little bit, is that better or worse? Let's see. In any case, let's just get this eye makeup on because we certainly have to do a little bit of preparation for tomorrow. But, you know, we're practicing, right? I had a moment when I went to that Oscar after party where, you know, you kind of are in panic mode. Like, you're like, oh, I gotta really get ready, right? All of your practice getting ready for work goes into play, like brush teeth, floss, shower, shave legs, all that kind of stuff, right? But you have a deadline, and you definitely don't want to be figuring things out for the first time. You don't want to try on a dress for the first time or first time in a while for those of us who've been suffering with quarantine pounds. Just running this underneath the eye, again, to set our eyeshadow base and, you know, take care of any creasing that's happened. We're just looking and evaluating with an honest eye, right? Put that brush down, then get into, I guess, the smaller of these two brushes. We could also use this brush to smudge out that liner that we're eventually going to have in place. But this is such a fabulous brush for the liner itself. It's so thin and precise. I mean, you know, sometimes you grab things and you're like, whatever. But, you know, when it just turns out to like rock your world in terms of your makeup technique. So if we went with that very pale butter color, right? What's the next matte shade that we could kind of put with it to make magic? And maybe let's use this color that's just adjacent to it, right? It's kind of a caramel color. Not the darkest, but it's right next to it, and maybe that means something. So stroking our brush gently into the shade itself, right? Show you the technique. Hold it at the end and just stroke into the palette. Get that on the brush. You could tap it off if you like. Is that doing something or is it a gimmick? I'm not certain. But, you know, to really look at the eye, really look and just pat, not circles, but pat for precision, right? I'm definitely guilty of taking my eyeshadow up too high. I have a hooded lid. There's not that kind of architecture in my eye, and I'll use too big of a brush and it will disrupt what we're trying to do, which is enhance the structure of our hooded eye. We're not trying to do what other people do who have really a lot of lid space. We're trying to put this color on. We're trying to lift that shape and have a shape that kind of points out toward the temple and toward the end of the brow. We're not trying to go absolutely mad in terms of shape. But these brushes, they're synthetic, they're cheap, but boy, do they have a precision and a purpose, right? What's nice about this brush, it's kind of tapered on the end, right? That you can kind of turn it flat, you can turn it to the wide side, you can really get into that crease, really make a very precise line, even along the upper lash line. I think you could take the same brush and run it along the lower lash line, right? For unity, right? Don't take it more than halfway across the eye. I think that that is a very, very sturdy outer corner shape, right? Looking at what we did there, right? Kind of looking at where we're going to map out the same color and the same shape, you know, for comparison, right? Outer V, but an outer V that reaches up and out toward the tail end of the brow and toward the temple, right? I've been looking with interest at people who, you know, create eyeliner that is not a big pointy wing, but it's one that kind of just enhances their lash line around the eye, right? And that's supposed to be what's coming in terms of makeup and fashion for 2022. Something that gets more into the kind of like eye enhancing shape. We're just going to run it under the eye, right just along that lash line, keeping very strict on keeping it right on the lash line. And already we've lifted and enhanced the eye, right? Stamping that color on, stamping it up toward that tail of the brow. And really getting that Ready Set Gold warm set of shades on the eye and respecting that map that we have to respect as a hooded eye person, right? Out toward the tail end of the brow, getting it into that crease, but not too far across the real estate of the eye, because now we know we have to use our kind of like paddle brush, right? Totally synthetic, but that shape, very stiff, not so broad, but you know, we're gonna map some shimmer across the inner 2/3 of the eye. Now, that is a caramel color. Should we use the very palest shimmer, or maybe the one next to it, or maybe something a little bit more gold? Maybe let's rock with this color right here, which is not the palest, but it's close to it, and just see what we've got. If we were, I don't know, I think if you were wearing a gold dress, you wouldn't want to do a gold shadow. If you were wearing a red dress, perhaps you would want to do, and just using our brow as a guide, we're not cutting the crease, we're not adding even more product to the eye, but we're wanting to arc that shimmer shade in a way that respects the shape of our brow, and just bring that light into the inner corner, and that sort of unexpected, not only brightness, but reflect, right? Brightness and reflect in the inner 2/3 of that eye. Because we are a hooded eye person, we want that light, we want that drama, we want the color. You know, if you were wearing, oh, I don't know, a cobalt blue dress, if you were wearing a green dress, would that be the right thing to wear with that sort of color combination, right? Bringing that ring light down, you know, it may be better if we bounce the ring light off of our face, just so that you can see what color payoff I'm seeing. But, you know, we're so naughty doing our live late at night when we have less light outside, not by intention, but we were up to things today. We want the same kind of shape, respecting that brow shape, right? But it's interesting because these colors are very true and saturated, and they definitely make their mark. And I didn't know what to expect in terms of like a gold palette. We want to use that same brush to get that gold very gently on the inner half of the lash line, right? Inner half of the lash line, other side. So now the eye is properly shadowed, and we can use our favorite brush, this angled liner brush, to stamp into the darkest color or a dark color in this palette to create an eyeliner look that is flattering and forgiving. So rather than going super brown, maybe let's go kind of a chestnutty brown. Right here next to this pale shade, we have this color. So we just stamp our brush in it, right? And what's great is when you use this brush, it gives you a very smooth line. Now, being a hooded eye person, you don't want to arc that liner brush up. You want to see where your eye will allow you, right? You watch your hood and you put that liner in a place where it'll extend your lower lash line and kind of go out to the side as if it's making a lash. And that looks pretty great. You can use the same brush to just stamp along very close to the upper lash line. You have the option to bring that all the way across, just hugging that lash line and making it look thicker. Even if you're not adding a lash and mascara, just adding this eyeshadow will give you, and then stamping it at that inner corner in a downward kind of dip from the top of the eyelid. And just that will give you a stronger, more dramatic eye. You don't have to like do everything, right? Really look at and you can also tight line carefully into the lash line. But just that, right? Look at your line. Do you want it longer? Do you want to brush it a little bit? Do you want to take it a little bit under the eye and lash line? Press that in. I think that looks tremendous, right? The eye is extended. The eye is stronger. That eye is shaded, right? It's about sexual dimorphism. Look at the angle. Look at where your hood is. Stamp, right? Look at that precision. BH Cosmetics. Wow. I've messed with some of their foundations and some of their shadows. Some of their shadow palettes are a little bit pale for me, or I'm not necessarily the person who's into, uh, a lot of greens and pumpkins and pastelly, etc. But stamping along the upper lash line and the inner corner. And I feel like stamping with a dark shadow, and for me, Morphe shadows are good quality enough. I'm just not enough of an experienced person to know, when you get into Pat McGrath and Danessa Myrick and, higher end makeup by Mario, I'm not there yet, right? I'm just trying to do your basic shadow. I'm not a snob like that. I don't have the precision using our fluffy brush, holding it at the end, just to buff out those edges, right? We started with a really pale eyeshadow base. This is our matte half, right? We don't want things to look harsh and crazy and like one of those tattoos you get out of the gumball machine when you're a kid. We want it to look blended into that shimmer, and they're shimmers, not glitter, but you know, taking it out toward the temple and toward that eyebrow tail, brushing it in toward that shimmer and just buffing out the edges so that there's a little bit more of a natural gradient, right? You want your shadow to look seamless. You want it to look kind of enhanced and seamless, not harsh. And you know, even if you're blending over, even the eyeliner part, it's not like once it's down, right? Because of your eyeshadow base, because of the quality of these shadows, it doesn't go all wandering, which is reassuring, right? But sometimes you're scared, you know, if you've experimented with, I'm guessing, lesser products, you know, you touch it, it's gone. It's not that pigmented. You know, small circles, buff it out, look at your work, kiss that inner 2/3 and that shimmer, right? But it's not going to rub off that inner corner flick. It's not rubbing off anything that you did to enhance that flick at the end of your eye. Just rub it under the eye, in that inner corner, see what's what. I think that's pretty. So, if, as the beauty gurus say, if that is the shadow, and if we've had a successful experience with the Ready Set Gold palette, just laying over this map. So what we did was we messed with classic, right? And then we did our outer corner with star. We lined our eye with epic, and then we used spirit to make our inner 2/3 shimmer and bright. If that's that, then we should go in with some kind of contour highlight, right? If these are our new contour sticks, and they're quite dark and quite saturated. The very palest one seems to be, I didn't peel the label all the way off because I don't think the shade names are on the packaging. I think they're only on the label. So if Cocoa Bean is not the darkest, but is darker than our face, what is the right brush, right? Here's this little brush. It's a BM. What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe we could look it up at some point, but it's quite a sharp little, it's a sharp brush, it's a little brush, right? Something that could give us some precision and not the muddiness that sometimes you can experiment with. Is it contour and sort of a cool shadow, or is it more warm and in the family of being a bronzer? Well, let's respect the fact that this brush has corners, and just stroke the corner across. Look into our face, right? We're wanting to lay it down on the cheekbone, not under the cheekbone, but on the cheekbone at an angle, looking at where the ear is, the top of the ear, and the middle of the ear. Let's aim toward the top of that ear and stroke. It's quite warm, right? And stroke. If that's the top of the ear and this is the middle of the ear, and stroke, right? Being light and precise, right? It's not some big thick old line, but it's definitely a line, right? Other side. And instead of laying the product onto the skin, we're using a brush, right? We're trying to be sophisticated. We're trying to be accurate and build a cheek experience and build a contour experience that makes sense, right? They say bring your contour up. I don't know, I never know if that means up toward the ceiling or up and back towards your ear. I think it means back toward the ear, right? Trying to give that little line a little bit more width at the back, right? Suggesting a shadow, but not going too crazy because we're going to end up underpainting, right? Same color on the nose, right? In drag, you make your nose contour lines not straight up and down. Makeup artists do that on me, but they make the lines converge. So going from the eyebrow toward the center and the end of that nose at an angle, right? Optical illusion, hopefully to narrow the very broad base of the nose. Theory. Is it realistic? Who can say? But trying to be precise so that, you know, I see people putting entirely too much brown on their nose. They just, oh, it's everywhere. You know, they also make the big L. Jolson line around the lips, all the way around the lips. And then if you really watch them, then they cover it up with foundation. So are you really doing it, or is it a lie? Is it a process and a step where in actuality you're just putting it there, it looks so crazy, and then as if by magic you take it away. I want to see what the makeup looks like if you leave it there. Big old line around the, you know, around the face, around the mouth. It just, I don't know. Seems like a lot. All right. Building on this contour, making sure it does what it does. Do I have a round face? I'm always so confused by these diagrams and TikToks suggesting that, you know, there's some perfect geometry in nature. Perfect geometry that I don't feel that I have. Right? Creating some structure for the chin, right? Making a little chin lines so that when we highlight the chin, it'll look like we have more chin structure than we do. Using the same brush, going around the hairline. You know, I feel like the purpose of this is to shrink the forehead, so less in the middle, more on the sides, bringing it back toward the hairline. Less in the middle, but more on the sides, bringing it back toward the hairline, right? And if we take a moment and look in our mirror and just start blending it out so that it's there, but it's not like some harsh line. It's something that frames the center of the face and will create some strength to the bone structure, right? We can use the same little brush just to blend and stroke it out. Blend and stroke on that cheek, right? We don't want to rough up our skin, but we don't want to have such a harsh set of lines. We want it to be seen. Maybe shorten the nose in theory, right? It would be great if this contour shade was cooler, but you know, again, that's why we experiment. Look at that shadow, the glare from our ring light. And, you know, we've done this jawline contour, and it really does. I mean, honestly, I've been experimenting when I have time in the morning and taking that contour down the neck so that there's visual unity. But what we really want to do is get it under the chin to cancel out where we had, honestly, chocolate cream pie from Whole Foods and delicious tuna and salmon sushi, you know, and then use the broad way of the brush to kind of diffuse that. All right, we can still see the lines, we can still see it, but diffusing it. Now, we're looking a little muddy, but again, we've tried to use some precision and use these new products in a way that hopefully create some structure underneath whatever product we use for foundation, right? Sheer application. This very precise little brush. Now, if we get back into this e.l.f. brush that calls itself Eye Soother, right? Very pointy, very precise, unlike our silicone sponges. And if we grab whatever concealer, whatever could we use? We have a lot of concealers. Suspicious concealers and nice concealers and some strange concealers. This is a strange one. It's a stick. It's a Maybelline cover stick in white. Is that too much? Probably. We have some brightening creamy concealer. We have Revlon Color Stay. Fair. Forgot I had these. Light. Creme Brulee. And Banana. Let's rock with Banana. Banana is a really good color in Becca. Is it Becca? Yes. In Becca concealer for me because it's yellow and I am very yellow. So if we, I don't even know if we need our dish. We could actually put it from the applicator onto this eye soother, right? Get it from the doe foot onto here. Maybe that's a lot, but let's see what we can do. I'm almost tempted to use my finger so I don't get a big old blob, but let's see what we can do here. Looking into our mirror and taking our very smallest pinky finger and just dotting that. You know, it's not that you want to put concealer across your entire under eye area. Definitely want to do it where there's visible darkness. We have our shadow on, and that covers some of the dark area in the inner corner, but you want to just put it right where that shadow appears on your face, right around the nostrils, and then down into any like smile type line area, right? Trying to be conservative about the amount of product we use. Down the middle of the nose, trying to respect the contour, but give ourselves a credible highlight. Not wanting to make it too broad or crazy, but you know, there's a school of thought that you want to erase the nostrils, so you're highlighting the sides of your nose. Does that make sense? Because highlighting things brings them forward. So, you know, I think what we want to do is strengthen how that contour in the nose pops, but then we can take some of this concealer and really define the cheek contour and diffuse it, right? Get it down onto the jaw again to make that jaw contour pop. And then on the other side, you know, not wanting to go crazy, not wanting to completely cover up the skin. This isn't Vegas. We want to be able to walk around in front of people and not make them think we have issues. And, you know, it's heartening. Sometimes you'll see main cast. Some main cast people have a lot of really thick, heavy makeup on, and some of them really don't. Like, they really look like themselves, right? If we sit back and look, right? Maybe tap out that under eye concealer. Maybe use it to lift where we've lined the eye, right? A little paleness in that temple area, right? We don't want to completely contour that temple area because the temple is important for, you know, we don't want to have our face look like a penny, perfectly round like a penny. You want to have your face and your, you know, head structured like you're a human person, not a doll. So if this is our contour and highlighting, like center of the forehead, down the center of the nose, doing something about these nostril shadows and laugh lines here on the Cupid's bow, on the chin, right? Do we need more on the chin? We still are seeing some very bright lines here, right? But we definitely see the lines of our contour. Maybe we'll add another dot on the chin. Again, Revlon, Color Stay, full coverage concealer in Banana, right? For the very yellow Tanya of House of Tanya. And, you know, just getting the very tiniest of dots on our applicator, right? Getting that back into our package and then getting it on that chin. Again, theory being we can highlight the chin and bring it forward. We have a relatively weak chin. We don't want to disrupt that contour around the mouth. We don't want to disrupt the contour around the chin or under the chin. You know, but diffusing, making sure the highlighted places still look highlit, right? We have a little smidgen more on our brush. We can brighten up that whole area underneath the eye, but not, you know, just slinging a bunch of product on and then having it look imprecise and muddy, right? Not trying to obliterate the skin underneath, but not wanting to look painted by the numbers per se, right? We want to enhance what we did with that eyeshadow. Right? Stretching out that eyeliner. And now, are we ready to go over this contour and highlight? I think we are. What will it be? Will it be some sort of cream product as a foundation? Should we go for something sheer? We really do like, what is it called? It's some sort of like perfecting and concealing tube. And I believe I have some, but I don't know where I put it. It's like a foundation product, but it's not, it's mattifying, but it's really quite something. And maybe I left it somewhere. This is our collection of foundations, right? We also have a collection of BB cream, kind of more sheer products. We've never, ever actually used